Tonight we have an update from St. Johns County Sheriff, days after Sergeant Michael Kunovich died in the line of duty. Sheriff Robert Hardwick says that the sergeant died from medical issues due to the struggle with a man he was questioning. The sheriff says that man was trespassing at a permanently closed business. The suspect, police say, later reached for a knife and then they started to fight. Sergeant Kunovich collapsed and died a short time later. Sheriff Hardwick says the sergeant's questioning of that man was justified.
We continue to have, high crime area of 16 and 95, where prostitution, people that are committing other crimes that are coming off Interstate 95, other legal drug activity in the area. So it's a high crime area of where we have a lot of deputy sheriffs that are responding to calls for service.
The sheriff's office arrested this man, Vergilio Aguilar Mendez. He is charged with felony murder. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says he was in the country illegally.
New details about the line-of-duty death of St. Johns County Sheriff's Sergeant Michael Kunovich, who collapsed after a struggle with a suspect Friday night. 18-year-old Vergilio Aguilar Mendez is now charged with capital homicide and resisting arrest. Investigators say he's homeless and living in the country illegally. News for Jax reporter Eric Avenay joining us live with the latest on this case. Eric.
Well, Joy, some of that new information that came out today finally explains why there was an interaction between Sergeant Kunovich and Aguilar Mendez. At a news conference to discuss the recent rash of violence against law enforcement officers in Northeast Florida, St. Johns County Sheriff Robert Hardwick broke his silence about the death of St. Johns County Sergeant Michael Kunovich.
Sergeant Deputy Michael Kunovich was legally out with a person that was at a permanently closed business in the area of 16 and 95. He checked out with him simply to say, hey, why are you on this property trespassing? That was a simple thing, simple task. As the body camera footage will come out and show you, it was by the book, textbook.
According to this arrest report, Kunovich attempted to conduct a pat-down of 18-year-old Vergilio Aguilar Mendez.
And all the suspect had to do was comply. Instead, the suspect chose to try to remove a knife from its left-hand pocket of his pants, and the struggle was on with Sergeant Michael Kunovich until the next deputy sheriff showed up 37 seconds later.
The report states the struggle involved Aguilar Mendez grabbing Kunovich's taser after it had been deployed against the suspect. But at some point, after Aguilar Mendez was placed in handcuffs, Kunovich reportedly collapsed and died.
Sergeant Michael Kunovich succumbed basically to some medical issues that actually were induced by the struggle with our subject.
Following the news conference, Sheriff Hardwick said Sergeant Kunovich and other deputies had been patrolling the area of Highway 16 and I-95, where they encountered the suspect because the area needed more attention from law enforcement.
Prostitution, people that are committing other crimes that are coming off Interstate 95, other legal drug activity in the area. So it's a high crime area of where we have a lot of deputy sheriffs that are responding to calls for service.
Now, it's worth pointing out that Aguilar Mendez remains in jail without bond. Reporting live, Eric Avenay, Channel 4, the local station.
When President Biden canceled construction of the border wall and ordered ICE not to enforce court-ordered deportations, we have seen 2.1 million illegal immigrants unlawfully admitted to the United States by this administration. That is a population larger than the entire state of Nebraska. And while that's been going on, an additional 1.5 million known gotaways have entered while the Border Patrol has been overwhelmed. That's an additional illegal population larger than the state of Hawaii. Combined, that's 3.6 million illegal migrants admitted to our country. That's larger than the population of 20 of our states, and that's just in 28 months. The danger of this policy should be self-evident. When the president surrendered unconditionally to the Taliban and abandoned Bagram Air Base in the middle of the night, he released 5,000 of the most dangerous terrorists on the planet who were detained there. We know where one went. 10 days later, he went to Abbey Gate at Kabul airport and detonated the bomb that killed 13 U.S. Marines. We know that nearly 200 individuals on the terrorist watch list were apprehended by the Border Patrol in 2022 and 2023, compared to just 14 in all 4 years of the Trump administration combined. What we don't know is how many more are among the 1.5 million known gotaways. Now, HHS Secretary Javier Becerra told his staff that he demanded a rapid release of illegal migrants into the country. He compared it to an assembly line, and he warned subordinates that if they didn't move faster, he'd find others who would. The lack of any serious vetting of those entering our country is producing tragic results for families like that of Kayla Hamilton, whose grieving mother we will hear from today. In her case, a 17-year-old MS-13 gang member was released into the United States as an unaccompanied alien child. Kayla Hamilton is dead as a result. Police investigating her murder noticed her assailant had gang tattoos, and one call to El Salvadorian authorities confirmed he was a known MS-13 gang member, something federal officials never bothered to ask, as they recklessly allowed him to enter the United States. Drug trafficking now produces an average of 200 fentanyl deaths in the United States every day, the equivalent of a passenger jet crashing every day. Just a few days of such carnage would ground every aircraft in America. But we're told that human trafficking is now becoming an even more profitable business to the cartels than drugs. Illegal migrants arrive deeply in debt to the cartels, whose violent gangs are proliferating in our cities to enforce these debts. In places like Tulare County, California, just outside of my district, we're starting to see cartel executions of entire families, including, in this case, a mom shot through the head as she shielded her baby. Every Border Patrol officer says the same thing. This is no longer a border problem. If it hasn't already come to your community, it soon will. I'm afraid this will culminate either in a terrorist attack by elements that have come in through our border or the kind of cartel gun battles breaking out in cities that have already become commonplace in Mexico. Now, this is not to paint every illegal migrant as a gang member or terrorist, but the Biden open borders policy is clearly allowing many dangerous gang members, terrorists, and criminals into our country, and he doesn't seem to care about the resulting damage. Meanwhile, the social safety net meant to help Americans in need is collapsing under the weight of millions of desperate, destitute, and dependent illegal migrants who are flooding our country. New York City has now turned as many as 20 public school gymnasiums into hotels for illegal aliens. Recess is canceled because single adult men are sleeping on cots in gyms intended for school children. We've heard from food pantries whose supplies are exhausted because of the explosion of illegal migrants. We've heard from hospital administrators at the border who've had to tell American citizens that they have no room for them because they're overwhelmed by migrants. And we hear from law enforcement of the increasing presence of criminal cartels and foreign gangs in their communities. Yet the Democrats' witness is going to tell us a solution is simply spend more money and process illegal migrants faster. This is lunacy. It is a crime to illegally enter the United States. Federal law requires every asylum claimant to be detained until their case is heard and to be deported if it's rejected. But this administration simply ignores the law. Now, these first hearings have examined the effect of these policies. Over the next few weeks, we will turn our attention to the cause, what laws are being violated and by whom.